All right, everyone. Hello, welcome to episode 3 of the College Conversation. Today I am joined with,
Hi, my name's Yuna.
yes, and Yuna goes to Vanderbilt. It's in Tennessee in the
Mhm.
United States. Would you mind just saying what year you're going into or in already?
So right now I am a sophomore or a second year.
All right. So I just want to know more about your school and you. So what major are you taking?
So I am planning on studying human and organizational development. That's my first major and the one that I'm with currently. And I'm also planning on studying Latin American studies.
All right. Did you do that last year as well, or did you declare it this year?
I haven't declared it yet. Right now, I'm declared as an HOD, which is what we call Human and Organizational Development for short, and Spanish. But I'm planning on switching Spanish to Latin American Studies.
Okay. So what made you choose Vanderbilt?
I'd say what really drew me to Vanderbilt was, well, first of all, I really like the community aspect. I like how, I noticed how they have a bunch of different student organizations, and so it was really easy for me to get involved and get to know other people, not only in my year, but for those who are in the classes above me. So I really like that, and I was also drawn to I guess just like within that factor, this aspect of community service, I like how um, committed the students are to serving the community around them. Um, I'd say that's like the biggest factor, as well as how generous Vanderbilt is with financial aid. I feel like without that, then I don't know how else I'd be able to pursue my college career.
Mhm. So like you mentioned community service. So like what would you say? Like all the students do it is like a mandatory thing, or is it that they have ways for you to get involved in that?
So I'd say it's not mandatory, but I feel like there's just something about um, like the resources that they offer, the organizations that they promote that allow students to know like there are opportunities to serve around them. Like for example, there we have like a student organization fair at the beginning of every school year, and it's just kind of like uh, it's like I don't even know how long it takes, but it's just like all the organizations. I know we have over 400. I'm not sure about the exact number, but they all just kind of gather in the recreation center. But of course, like for this year, it was online. And yeah, they would just hold little booths. They would answer questions for the students who would walk by and who are interested. And yeah, it was like a really welcoming and informative environment.
Are you part of any organizations or clubs at Vanderbilt?
So right now I'm involved as a program coordinator for an organization called Amigos, and it's like a service organization that's dedicated to serving the local Latino community in Nashville. And so far, like my work has just been connecting with uh, certain law clinic programs, like the law clinic with the Vanderbilt Law School, as well as one being served by or being offered by this organization called Tennessee Justice for Our Neighbors. So it's all about connecting immigrants who are often of low income background to these legal services that otherwise wouldn't be affordable. So I'm involved in that. I'm also involved as an advocacy committee member for the Asian American Student Association. I just joined the committee this year, so there isn't much that I could speak about, but I will say that we are right now focusing on putting together a magazine focusing on the topic of Asian American silence as well as the Asian American silenced. So we're looking into those motifs. And I'm also involved in student government. So Vanderbilt student government has like a bunch of different ways for you to get involved. Like you could get involved in the cabinet, like president, vice president, all that. You could get involved in Senate, like the Senate elections are going on right now. And as for committees, like got involved in the committee for sexual assault awareness and prevention starting last semester, and I'm planning on reapplying for this semester. And yeah, those are the organizations I'm involved in.
You're busy, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So more of like Vanderbilt. So you've already been have you done in-person classes like ever at Vanderbilt like last year?
Yeah, I did.
So would you say the campus is big, small? Like what would you say it is?
Um, hmm. I would say that it's kind of I'm not exactly sure because I'm from Arizona, and the school that a lot of my friends go to is Arizona State University, and they're known to be one of like the biggest schools in the country, but I kind of use that as a reference. So I'd say like compared to that, Vanderbilt is definitely on the smaller side, but probably compared to schools like USC, um, like the private schools, I'd say that it's probably around the same size, if that makes sense.
So it's big, but not too big.
Yeah.
All right. And so you've also been in the classes. So are you enjoying the teachers? Do you think that Vanderbilt allows you to get some help from either like TAs or like student services? How's that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say, yeah, definitely. Even though it does depending on the student-teacher ratio, like some lecture classes, you're probably more likely to go to the TAs. Meanwhile, like for seminar classes, there's only like 13 kids, so you'll probably feel more comfortable like speaking out. I'd say just despite that, they always host office hours, both professors and TAs, which is very nice. So like I guess like in my case, I do enjoy going to office hours, even if the class itself has a smaller ratio. I think it allows me to be able to connect with the TAs and the professors, and they definitely make that available. So yeah.
Also, would you say that what are your favorite places to study at Vanderbilt? Like, do you like the library, or is it more like a busy place, or?
Okay, let's see. So I can't study outside of the dorm for this year, but last year, my favorite places I'd say would be so we have a library called Central Library. I think it's also known as Heard Library. But basically it's on main campus. It has like 8 floors, I want to say. And I always like going to the 8th floor because they have these little pods kind of where like you see like you walk in, there's like a big table, but like the table is divided up so that you kind of have like your own corner or your own space to study. So I like that. And I also like going to there's a building called Butcher Hall. It's really pretty. It's dedicated towards humanities and languages, and after classes are over, you can just like walk into one of those rooms and just kind of study there. Yeah, like I really like going there to study with my friends and be able to grab dinner afterwards at Rand Hall, which is like right nearby. But for this year, since we can't really go out that much, I just like studying in my dorm.
Oh, you're in dorms right now?
Yeah.
Oh, so speaking of dorms, like how has say your school adjusted to COVID? So do you do in-person classes, or have they all done like at the dorms?
So it depends from person to person, but they have allowed in-person classes, remote classes, and hybrid. So in my experience so far, I don't have any hybrid classes, but I know some students and some of my friends who are into STEM, they would do their labs like once every other week or once every 3 weeks. So there would be those hybrid classes. But as for me, like I have one in-person class, and the rest of my classes, so 5 others, are online.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you say like talking about dorms and stuff?
Hmm.
So are the dorms at your school good? What's the best dorm would you say for freshmen?
Okay, for freshmen, from what I've heard, so the Sutherland, I was in Sutherland Hall, which is like the very south part of Freshman Commons, which is like an entire area dedicated for freshmen. They have like the Common Center, which has like a dining hall, a snack mart. They have that as well as I believe it's like 9 or 10 freshman dorm halls, and from what I've heard, Hank Ingram, which is like one of the largest ones, is very nice for freshmen. Like I've walked in a few times and like it looks really nice. It looks kind of like a hotel, and like we have that side of quality, and then I heard that some of the older dorms, like if you go kind of if you walk like west of the common center, they got some dorms that are a bit older, like northwest, and I want to say Gillette. They're more on the older side. They aren't as, I guess, like fully equipped in the sense that like I remember last year they had like a water problem, so they had to go shower and brush their teeth at other dorm halls. So those are more on the older side, but I'd say they still probably have their perks. Like I heard that on some floors you get an entire bathroom to yourself, which isn't really common for freshman dorms. But yeah,
Oh, most of them are like communal bathrooms.
sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, most of them are communal bathrooms.
Yeah, most of them are communal bathrooms.
Okay. And so would you say those dorms are expensive though?
Expensive. I'd say they like if you put it in the context of looking at all of the school's dorm halls, I'd say it's it comes with a fee. I think there's like a commons like a freshman year fee because of they dedicate and shape up the commons experience for freshmen. So I feel like in that sense it may be more pricey. But like once you become an upperclassman, that could depend because they have like 3 residence halls, so you would have to pay like a separate residence hall experience fee for that. But if you're not in those residence halls and you live in like dorms like Morgan House, which is what I'm in, then you don't have to pay that extra fee. If that answers your question.
Also meal plans. So what are the meals like? What is food like at your school?
Oh, okay. It's kind of hard to label it with one term, but I know that, I mean, obviously they do Southern food well. I really like their program. It's called Taste of Nashville, and basically what they do is with your Commodore card, they include like your meal plan and they include this thing called meal money. So this meal money is part of your meal plan, but you could use it at one of like 40 restaurants around the area of the campus. So that's super nice. And I think if like the the further you advance in your college career, like with every class, you get less meals but more meal money. So you're allowed to explore um, restaurants in Nashville the older you get, which I think is kind of nice. Um, yeah, so like some of those restaurants include they have sushi places, they have a Thai place, which I really like, they have a Chinese noodle place, they have several Mexican food places, and in terms of dining hall, what I like is that I was kind of surprised by this because like I expected that going into Nashville, not knowing much about it, I didn't think it would be as diverse, which I'm completely mistaken about. Because like in their dining halls, one of them they have like a pho place. Like they have just like a area in the dining hall just for serving pho, which I really appreciate. I'm not Vietnamese, but still, like I really like Asian food. I really like their breakfast. They do scrambled eggs, sausage, occasionally grits. And in terms of dinner, I feel is when it really depends on the day. Like they switch up between Mexican food, Southern food, Asian food. Um, yeah, like sometimes they offer like curry one day, and then the next day they offer lo mein. I also really like this one vegetarian cafe called Greens, which is integrated within the Jewish Center, the Hillel Center. Sorry, and I really like their options. I often go for the vegan mac and cheese. They use a cashew sauce instead, and I feel like just Vanderbilt's meal plan and just like the programs they offer for food really allowed me to explore Nashville through food. And it just kind of made me realize how much more diverse it was than I thought. Yeah.
So would you say that your school is like an inclusive place for students of color, and would you say that it's a lot of representation, or more of a like back away from that?
Um, hmm. I feel like the school has come to grapple with that issue recently, especially with regards to Greek life, because Vanderbilt is like, I think it's like really known for Greek life and it has a pretty high ratio because I heard that around like 40% of undergrads participate in Greek life. I'm not one of those 40%. I'd say like there are certain institutions like Greek life that don't exactly make it as welcoming as it promises to be to underrepresented groups like people of color, LGBTQ plus students, low income students. But I'd say like if you don't participate in those institutions, it is pretty easy to get involved in your own respective community. So, for example, like coming in, I didn't think that there would be that many Asian students, but like there are plenty of Asian American student organizations that were available for me to get involved in, and so now I am involved in one. Um, yeah, it's just I feel like it always depends on your choice, the choice that you make. If you choose to participate in institutions like Greek life, then you might, run into those problems. But if not, then you're always free to join organizations that promote equity, promote inclusion, promote the rights of people whom you identify with.
Mhm. Okay, that's it. And would you say like they provide services, like they have a center for like maybe students of color? Do they have those?
Oh yeah. So they have this thing called okay, I know for short, or the acronym is SCSJI. I think that stands for like the Student Center of Social Justice and Inclusion, or maybe it's identity. So this is a center where, yeah, like they offer services for people of any identity markers that apply to them. We also have um, we have like it's a building called Surratt Center, and this is kind of like um the place where a lot of student organizations meet and they hold their offices in. So SASJI is part of that. Um, we have this thing called the Multicultural Leadership Council. This is like an overarching organization of like I want to say maybe like 40-ish. I don't know if that's accurate, but like just like a bunch of different organizations pertaining to each culture. So like what I said earlier, the Asian American Student Association, they have organizations for students identifying as um, Latinx. They have multiple organizations for people who identify as Black American or African. I know that they have like I think it's called the Black Students Union. They have one for students who identify as East African. And we even have an organization called Lambda. This is for students who identify as LGBTQ plus. Um, yeah, like I'd say it's pretty inclusive in that aspect.
What about International students. How would you say the international population is at Vandy?
That's a good question. So I don't know much about the international student population. I do know that they also have organizations dedicated to them and services dedicated to them. I believe the school has like an office just for international students. And I know that there are some organizations out there that are dedicated to helping international students, I guess, like ease into the college life in the United States, which is super helpful. But yeah, I don't know much about it, but I do know that there are services out there.
So, how involved would you say you are or other students are at your school? Like at football games or like maybe different activities the school has?
I would say that I don't know. For some reason, I feel like everybody that I meet, including myself, is always involved in at least one organization or sport, which I think is super cool. So like, yeah, like I have yet to meet someone who is not involved, and it's not so much as like a, oh, you have to join something or dedicate yourself to something sort of thing. It's not that so much as like it's just all of these opportunities are out here, and like it's just like a great way to be able to, I guess, like find your people, like that phrase, but also like pursue things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to pursue. Um, yeah, like some of the organizations and services that I notice here, I haven't been able to find at my own high school. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, like I think everyone's just happens to be involved. Sorry, can you say that
Everyone
again?
has their place in the school, you'd say.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? I can't hear.
Everyone has their place in the school, you'd say.
Yeah, I'd say everybody tries to find their way in the school and it works out.
So for your school, how is financial aid? Would you say it's a good package or like any scholarships that the school provides students?
Yeah, so I'd say Vanderbilt is really generous with financial aid. Um, so like I said earlier, had I not like been able to receive the financial aid package that I did, then like I don't know how else I'd be able to afford college. Yeah, like I know that Vanderbilt has certain like scholarship programs for that rising freshmen can apply to. For example, they have the Cornelius Vanderbilt Scholarship. This one provides like a, I know like they provide a full tuition scholarship for all 4 years, and they have like a summer stipend, so that students can pursue like research or just other summer opportunities. I want to say that this is the same for the Chancellor Scholarship, except the Chancellor Scholarship more so is focused on um, providing this sort of financial aid and merit scholarships to students who have had a history of like promoting diversity and inclusion. So there's that scholarship program, and there's also another one called the Ingram Scholarship Program. This one is um, this one is dedicated towards students who are interested in business, I believe, business or economics. So there's that. And I believe there's also another scholarship program called Curb Scholars. This one is for students who are involved or who are really interested in pursuing art and like kind of like tying that to making a change in their own community. So I think it's often referred to as like the arts and policy sort of community. But even like besides that, like if you happen to not receive those scholarships, like for me, my financial aid package includes a scholarship named after one of the alumni. Um, and so this one was specifically towards undergrad students who are in the Peabody College of Education and Human Development. So that's the school that I'm under. Um, and I also received an Opportunity VU scholarship. So this is for students who, um, like, who are more like, I guess, like not as financially able to pay for like the full price tag, which is it's definitely risen over the course of like just 20 years. So I really appreciate that one. They also offer the federal work study program. So I believe the max is $2,700. That's the one that I'm on, and with that you could like go on to they have like a job board, or what's it called, job platform, where you could log in, find a job pertaining specifically to federal work study students. So that's how I was able to find a job. And yeah, that's kind of like what the package looks like and the scholarship programs look like here at Vanderbilt.
Speaking of like the work study program, so like with this all, you'd say that Vanderbilt is good at getting people internships and like helping them find a career after they graduate?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so because with their career center, they send out newsletters like every week on Sundays, and you could like pick which sector that you're interested in. So, for example, I subscribe to the education newsletter, the newsletter for I believe it's called like policy, something related to that, like the public sector. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. So they allow you to subscribe to any one of those newsletters, and you'll just kind of like get a list of like a bunch of different internship and fellowship opportunities and their deadlines. And each student, depending on what your major is or your academic interests are, you'll be assigned a career counselor, and they make it really easy for you to just like log into your portal with the career center. And I think it's called Doorways. Yeah, it's called Doorways. You log in, you can just set up an appointment with your career counselor, and they can do anything from like reviewing your resume to helping you tailor your application for certain internships. And yeah, they just make it really accessible. And I'd say that like a lot of students within my major specifically, they always make it to like the big four consulting companies, which I found was like really interesting and really like reassuring. It really shows how dedicated Vanderbilt is to not just the college career, but like post graduation plans of students. So yeah.
So yes, a very important thing to know is, let's say, what are your two favorite things about your school and what are your two least favorite things that they could definitely change?
Oh, okay. I could kind of go off about this, but yeah. So I'd say the two things I really like about this school is I really like I just really like the community, not only the community within the school that is dedicated to um, like in terms of like students, nobody is after one another. We're all just trying to collaborate with one another, help each other out, um, even if we don't major in the same thing. Like we always are able to foster this sense of community, this sense of home away from home, which is what I really like. And the professors and TAs are always really like welcoming and accommodating of any like emergency circumstances. So I really like that. Um, yeah, in terms of inside the university as well as outside, in that they are really into closely tying together the college and the students and the community outside, like really connecting with the immigrant communities in Nashville. Yeah, providing legal services. So I like that aspect. I also like the financial aid. Um, Again, like I cannot say this enough. Like if I didn't receive the financial aid package that I did, then I don't know how else I'd be able to pursue college. But that being said, the two things that I don't like about Vanderbilt that I really wish they would change up are Greek life. That's one. Vanderbilt being a school in the South, it has its history with not being able to exactly uphold the values that it says that it would uphold. And it's kind of hard because, like, on one hand, it's like I know that these are like rooted in systemic issues that can't exactly be changed overnight, but also it's kind of discouraging to see some people actively participate in organizations, knowing full well the history that Vanderbilt has.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so Greek life, I really wish that it would change. And another thing that I kind of dislike is um, another thing wish would change is I guess like in terms of like sexual assault. I feel like well, it's strongly tied to Greek life, but it's also strongly tied to athletics, and just kind of like overall. I feel like even though there are services being offered, we're in this like paradox where there are these services that are being offered for survivors, but then the other side of this is that I feel that athletics and or people who are perpetrators of sexual violence who are involved in athletics, who are involved in Greek life, are still somehow being protected by I don't know certain bylaws. So that's something that I really wish would change. And yeah, I think the student community itself. What I do like about it though is that it recognizes those issues, and we do have students who are actively speaking out about it, actively raising awareness about it. And obviously, raising awareness is not enough. But I have noticed a change in attitudes towards Greek life, a change in attitudes towards protecting those who are involved in athletics in Greek life, and instead of gearing their efforts towards being centered around the survivor, which I really appreciate that change in mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, so many schools as well, like just the fact that like sexual assault is such a big part of so many schools, yet a lot of them aren't trying to cause awareness in that or like aren't focused on that. So I think it's a good thing that Vanderbilt's at least doing some stuff. You know what I mean?
hmm
So speaking of like stuff like that, so in regards to safety, like what would you say the school does in order to promote safety around the campus?
They do this thing, or they have this app. It's called Vandy Safe, and
Mhm.
it's basically an app just for like like you're able to contact VUPD, the Vanderbilt Police Department.
Mhm.
It's also an app where you could what's it called? Symptom monitor for COVID. It includes like maps and like what's it called, the routes for the Vandy Ride program, which is like we call it the Vandy van, and it's like a van that goes around between I want to say like 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. so that students don't feel like in danger when they're walking around on campus alone at night. We have this van service so that students can get to wherever they need to get to safely in those hours. They also have like VU emergency guides, and they even have these modules where you could learn more about what it means to be a mandatory reporter, and it also helps you educate yourself more about child safety, especially for someone like me who is in a department that's focused on child development. Like that's really important. They have modules for sexual assault as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion. And like again, like even though they have these resources, it's up to the people themselves to actively incorporate what they learn into their lifestyles. But I feel like in terms of like offering these resources, Vandy does a pretty like open job of doing that.
I think that's all we have time for today. But thank
Okay.
you so much for joining me on this interview. And yes, so once again, this is the end of episode 3 of the college conversation. So just stay tuned for our next episode, which will be coming out soon. So thank you.